So then what, like Muhammad was talking about, the wheel then.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And they laughed at it. Ain't no way in hell you gonna tell me a man with a third grade education is gonna talk about the wheel and gonna talk about things that we just not getting to know about. And I'm not a Muslim, but I know that. But I can back it up. I can back it up, and I'm gonna show you. I can back it up. If you get the tape, the human artificials, they got the archaeological evidence right there in Egypt in the temple of Seti one telling you who the devil is. The archaeological, I'm gonna read it tonight. You know, the archaeological evidence, because okay, in science you have the theory, which serves as basically what it is until you get to the later or earlier finding, which is the archaeological or anthropological evidence. You have the theory. Well, you have the Deox theory that they mutated in the Ice Age and the whole thing. You know, and the Charles Finch theory up at the Morehouse Medical School. Those are theories. But the archaeological evidence on the Temple of Seti I is the created man. This is what the Egyptians said. And also, Elijah Muhammad said it in his book on theology of time that the Egyptians did. And we got a bad witness in the Temple of Seti I. You see, in the Temple of Seti I. So we talk about that type of science, and I've been blessed to, since I've been doing it, I've been lecturing about a year now, and as a matter of fact, my stuff is becoming real popular. So I've been blessed with that. Not so much of the finances, because I did it for a whole year, damn near free. But the whole point is this stuff is getting out, and I think our people are ready to go to another level. And now we talk about going to a level where you don't have to sleep, you don't have to eat. They got people in India right now don't sleep and don't eat. I gotta have food, so I got a buck dance for the white man. You don't need no food. Whoever told you that you don't have to sleep? They got breatharians right in India. Don't sleep with you. Oh, I gotta have a man. They got black women in India have babies by the sun. That's right. You didn't think that. Have babies by the sun. You don't need a man to have no baby. I'm talking about that type of science that the white man knows. You see, know it. And won't even argue with you. Why? Because I go out and meet with the white people every day. They don't know who I am. But they know. But they say, oh, you in their cult, and you know these things. There's certain laws of the universe that is supposed to be known. And I didn't bring the book, the Holy Kabbalah. The first book you need to get is
I have it in my
You got it in the car. We'll show you that book. And you can get that at Black Media. You get the laws of Tahuti, the Holy Kabbalah. They know this science. They know it. And you see, the Kabbalah, the laws of the universe. The next book is called the Hermetic Science and the Rhythm of Motion of Number. That's an advanced companion to the Kabbalah. And another book is called A Son of Bunna. They know this science. You see, and that's the point. I mean, it's one thing to get the African knowledge to wake us out of the dirt, and then we go to the door, and it's another thing to step through the door. And that's the type of science we're talking about. Unbelievable things. Just like anything you can think of in the universe that you see in them comic books, you can do it. And that's what the right boy ain't letting you know. Especially us, because we are God. You see. And we'll get into the science of that too. Not the creator, but God. You see. So that's the stuff that he's not letting us know. You see. Science fiction is science fact. That's why you think of mine. That's why at Oxford Bookstore, they added 2 comic book stores. One in the bottom of the one in Peachtree Valley, and one, a whole other section of the one in Far Road, and white people in there doing it. You see, that's how they train these white people. They call it the cyberpunks. They start them off on video games and comic books. Get their mind on an advanced level for science. And then they go into, later on they go into computers. And then they go into this esoteric knowledge. They can grab it and they can be with it. 7th, 8th grade, they know this stuff. You see, in high school they know it. We sitting around here talking about both. Punk nigga Jesse Jackson, buck dancing for the Jews. Talk about both. Both. Common sense gonna tell you, go up and see all of the, not even just the mayor's race, but the city council and all, you gonna see mostly blacks. Don't you know when the white man abandons something, that it doesn't work, he gives it to the black people and we think we got something? It's just like some of them restaurants and stuff. All the white people go when it's fresh, and then when they get ragged and all the black people start hanging out. It's the same thing with politics. It don't work. It's a joke. It's a joke book. You see what I'm saying? The president is not even the president got his vote. You see, common sense will tell you that. If it's a 2-party system, we got Democrat and we got Republicans. Why in the devil is Bill Clinton having the same policies, the military policies as Bush did? It's supposed to be a different person. Oh, you voted for somebody else. It's supposed to be different than Bush. But didn't Bush go into Kuwait and Iraq and Somalia? Did Bill Clinton do the same thing? It's all the name of the game. He got a boss just like you. He got just as much power as you do. Why vote for a man that's working for somebody else? You see, that's the whole name of this whole game. So, I mean, the science is up there, unbelievable. But the science of the black man is unbelievable, more than you can even think of. And the funny part about it is he got to take us off the planet. Come 2 to 3 years, he got to take us off the planet. And don't bullshit thinking that everything gonna be all right, because the crack up on it, and you stupid. And that's just the way it is. We got to tell the people what time it is. You see, the King Alpha plan that we talk about. Man, I'll just say this for the whole lecture, but we can go ahead and all. The first thing we need to do is we need to start the lecture because we got enough crowd now. So the first thing I need to do is I need to pour some. We asked the oldest person in the room for permission to speak. Now, who is that going to be? Okay. Yeah, I have permission to speak. Okay. Now, the next thing we do is we pour libations because there's a lot of information, and in order to get this stuff going, we need a smooth current. I just need a little cup or something to make a difference. A smooth current and a smooth spirituality to really get the spirit moving up in here. So we pour libations and all. So the first thing we do, you don't have no plan or nothing in here. They don't make a difference. We just do it like this. They don't make a difference. The first thing we're going to do is, the four libations is we invite the ancestors. Now, one thing about inviting the ancestors that people don't know is the ancestors is your lawyer pleading your case to the hierarchies in heaven. You see. And that is a chain of your people going on that plead your case. Say, I know him, he's mine. So he or she pleads your case. You see. This is the importance of ancestor. It wasn't ancestor worship. You understand that we get it all in the biblical things and all the other propaganda. This devil worship, and I know such thing as devil worship. You know, if you want to go that way, I can show you right in the Bible where it's supposed to be devil worship. If you want to get funky with it, you see what I'm saying? But ancestor worship is a spiritual process to invite them and show them that we love them and let them guide us through everything and plead our case in heaven. Which there is a heaven. We're going to get in all of it. Man, this is beautiful. Now, the first thing we do is I'm going to call out some gods. Get a little more water, but I should get some. Okay, cool. I'm going to call out some gods, and then, and you go, when I call them out, you go, Ashe. And then we'll call out some ancestors, and I want you to name some of your ancestors also, too. So we'll call out some gods. Osar, Ashe. Heru, Ashe. Aset, Ashe. Jeshua Bethlehem, which means Jesus. Ashe. Tahuti. Ashe. Krishna, black, blue, black God, Krishna. Ashe. Oshun. Ashe. Okum. Ashe. Alekba. Ashe. Oya. Ashe. Goddess Sekmen. Ashe. The goddess Kali from India. Ashe. Hathor. Ashe. Nomos. Ashe. Apit, the great mother Apit. And Apit and Nut together, Ashe. We're going to get into all of that, what it means. So we invited that. Now let's invite some ancestors right quick. We need to mop after a while, but I think we ain't going to touch this spiritual water here today. I'll go with my grandmother, Irene Shaw. Ashe.
Elijah Muhammad.
Ashe.
Very good.
Ashe.
No, Alexander.
Ashe.
I didn't pray.
Ashe. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. We'll do it that way. Now, since we've opened the floor for the ancestor to come and guide over us and bring the spirituality into the abode and all, well, I'm just like, just a little bit of water and all, whatever, you do the little rag or whatever. We should go ahead and start this lecture. And I guess the first place we do is, when we start this lecture, well, I don't know, about it. Well, don't worry about it. We'll start the lecture. I'll pass out some flyers to let you know exactly what I'm talking about. Right now, I don't have my overhead projector, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to show you something. The first place that we need to start, that's enough. Don't wipe it all up there. Yeah, oh, just go here. Just wipe all this. Just go like that. Okay. Now, first place we need to do is start from the beginning. And I used to be a comedian in college, so excuse me. But I figure, we talking some serious stuff. We got to get a little bit of fun out of it. First thing we need to do is start all the way from the beginning. And to start from the beginning, we need to start in a place in Egypt or a place in Kemet called Dendera. And in Dendera we have, I'll tell you what, we just pass some of these things around. And then when we get through, we'll give you some, because there'll be some Xerox copies after that. And congratulations, you in time, because we just started. So we're going to pass this around so you can go this way and pass this around. We're going to start from the beginning at the Temple of Dendera. Now, the Temple of Dendera is in Kemet, Egypt, and is known by the Temple of Hathor, who is a form of Isis, or a form of Aset. And at the Temple of Hathor, at the Temple of Dendera, the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, what we have is this. We had the priests in Kemet, when the Greeks invaded, they said, well, doggone, we won't be around much longer. Oh, give or take 1,000 years or whatever. But we're going to need something that's planted so the brothers and sisters can catch it on the other side of the Atlantic, you see, this day and time. Now, in Kemet, the priests can prophesy thousands of years in advance. That's why some of your works, your Jehudian literature, and some of your biblical literature that comes out of the Gnostic schools in Alexandria, Egypt, is 100% prophetic prophecy than it is literal history, you see. And we need to take the biblical stuff sometimes as principles more than literal history, because we know that when it comes to the Exodus story. Said that the Jews built the pyramids. Well, doggone, the last pyramid was built 100 years before Muhammad's birth. Not Muhammad's birth, but Abraham's birth, and he's supposed to be the father. And we know that the so-called Pharaoh of that time, that's supposed to be the evil Pharaoh, was supposed to have been drowned in the Red Sea. Now, how could he be drowned in the Red Sea when he got a big old tomb built for him, and he lived 96 years, had 60-something children, and lived 96 years? And not only lived 96 years, they got his body preserved to this day. So we understand the whole point is to show you a spiritual principle that illustrates a spiritual manifested thought than a real history, you see. And also, too, religions that come out of the other religion, they have to somehow level the other religion to get that group of people to believe in that religion. People say, well, if this religion is spiritual, I already got one of them, so I don't necessarily need this one. So there's a little bit of psychology that went on. Now, going back to this particular Temple of Dendera. In the Temple of Dendera, you have the Zodiac of Dendera, and I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just find a book. I'll find a book that has the Zodiac of Dendera in it, and we'll pass this around right quick. This is the picture, this first one here. And in that Zodiac of Dendera, you have what you call the planisphere. It's a round zodiac that was up in the top of Dendera that was blown down by the Greeks and taken to the Louvre in Paris. Well, this particular zodiac and that particular temple was built in the Ptolemaic period, which was late in Egyptian history, but what had happened was they used to tear down temples and build other temples from the brick. But there was a papyrus that was in the wall of that temple. And that papyrus gave them the inscriptions to put on the wall of the new temple. And that papyrus, or that plan, was 90,000 years old, you see. And that's late in our history, what they don't tell us. It's 90,000 years old. So now we have one of the oldest existing pieces of time in history, older than Egyptian history. Now, in that particular zodiac, you have all of the gods that represent all of the stars and all of the heavens. It represents all of the gods that you know in some way, fashion, and form. And in the middle of that temple, you have one particular god. You have one particular god that all of the gods come from. And I'll show you this. That particular god that all of the gods come from is this particular hippopotamus goddess. This hippopotamus goddess called Apit or Ty-Earth. Ty meaning land and earth meaning earth, or meaning mother, Mother Earth. Ty-Earth or Apit, or later when she's having a son, in that particular calendar, she's giving birth to a son. Now, this particular son is known as a dog or a jackal. A dog or a jackal. So it would look like this. This is a jackal. A jackal just means dog in Egypt, a particular type of dog. You know, now she's having a son. Now, this particular son that she's having, this dog and this jackal, this is real key, will later on be the prototype of the God that you know. I don't care what God it is. It will be the same prototype, whether you believe in Allah, whether you believe in Jesus, whether you believe in Buddha, whether you believe in Krishna, whether you believe in Osar or Heru. It's the same God form. That particular God that she's having is the God that you say God in heaven. Now, it's a dog. Why a dog? Well, number one, a dog. Remember now, first of all, the Egyptians housed everything in animals because people change, people's attitudes change, and also, as we can see, that people's colors change too. But animals stay the same. Nature stays the same if it doesn't become extinct, but it still stays the same. Because even if one animal comes extinct, it still has another animal in the animal family that's just like it. So they would house the principles in nature. Now, why a dog? They say, why is dog God spelled backwards? Real key. Why a dog? Because a dog sits on the porch. And when danger comes, it barks and warns you. When certain weather changes come, it barks and warns you. Certain cycles come, it does certain things in nature and warns you. So the dog was the prototype of the God. Now that is the mythological point of that particular God. The astronomical point of that particular God is the star system Sirius, which is in the star system of Canis Major. Isis is known for coming from the star system of Sirius, bringing wheat to the world. Now, this is how this goes. It's from the star system Sirius, and it's called the dog star. It's a whole star system cluster. Isis is known as the soul of Sirius, or the Egyptian word would be S-E-P-T, sept. That's the Greek, well, that's the American word, or the English word Sirius, and the Greek word is sophis. But the S-E-P-T, sept, which means the soul of Isis, or the soul of Aset. Heru is connected, who is Horus is connected with Sirius. Osar is connected with Sirius. So now, what we have here is this particular dog is called the dog star. And that's the astronomical counterpart. Gets a little deeper than that. Let's go on to a certain area, a certain stage that we want to talk about dealing with us. And number one, let me go into a little more religion. In the Babylonian text or the Sumerian text, that Sirius is known, well, in the Egyptian text, let's go to Egypt. In Egyptian, it's known as what you would say, the human counterpart is known as the first God in historical proportion that we know of. No other God exists other than Apit, who is the mother of this God, but the actual God is called S-U-T, Sut, which means black. There's no other God that exists that predates this. Try to trace it back, because this is 90,000 years old. And this is the oldest representation, because before then, black men and black women were the prototypes of God, and they did not need history. It was all in the mind. We understand that now if we go to the griots, because you go there and you ask them to start with the history, and if you start a few hundred years, they get insulted, they say, because they got to go back further than that before they even start talking. So they used to record the history in mind. But when we're talking about the first recordings of history was Sut, S-U-T, which means the blue-black God, which is the son of the goddess Apit, which means earth, which is the microcosmic part, but the celestial part, it means the triple blackness of space. Triple blackness of space. And it's called Nut. It's another name for this particular God. Pay up real close attention to this triple blackness of space particular, you can start those out and start passing them out. And all, you can go forward and start them out and start passing them out and stuff. And all. It's the triple blackness of space. Now, later on becomes Set, which is the Egyptian devil of the adversary of Osiris. He later becomes a mutated form. You get the Heretic Papyrus of the British Museum, translated by Chester Beatty, translated by Alan H. Gardner, Chester Beatty. Set later becomes a mutated form of a person and known as the prototype of the devil. He later on becomes the word Shaitan in Samaria. He later on becomes Satan in Hebrew. But before it fell, it was called Sut, the blue-black god, the first god in history, where Ra fashions himself after, where Ptah fashions himself after, where Osiris fashions himself after. See, after it fell, the other gods came and fashioned themselves. Now, what does this mean? Let's go. What does this mean about all these doggone gods? I thought we believed in the God one or the one God. So the Christians say. You get E. Wallace's book, Budge's book, From Fetish to God in Ancient Egypt, 1935. He said, I wrote Gods of the Egyptian, 2-volume set, 15 years before, and I thought it was what you would call a religion that was I thought it was a polytheistic religion, but I was wrong the whole time. What I didn't understand was the religions, when I would see these particular gods, which was called letters, it just meant the certain attributes of the one God, or the God one. Because God is many, just like the African would explain the attributes of the God. Later on, man became kind of dumb and ignorant, so they had you just say, God, we won't deal with all of that because you will not understand the concept. But the Africans were advanced enough to understand the concepts of all of those deities to mean one when you put them together like a piece of puzzle. So there was no such thing as a polytheistic. They always worship the God one or the one God. Now, Sut later on becomes El Shaddai, or El Shaddai, which means God Almighty, in Samaria. God Almighty, or El Shaddai, later on becomes Jehovah in the Hebrews' culture. Same Sut, same Sirius. To be located in heaven, because guess who is on those planets is the real deal what we're talking about here. You see, becomes Jehovah. Now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you the religions from an astronomical counterpart, so it won't be no argument when you argue whether you be Muslim, Hebrew, Jew, or whatever, Christian. We're saying that all the gods are the God one or the one God, the same God. And we're just arguing over different cultural differences. Now, what about Islam? If Sirius is known as Jehovah, which is Hebrew, right? Let's go and see what Allah is. Let's go and see what Allah is. If we've already, now we all understand that Sirius is also the chief god of Egypt, or the chief god of Kemet, because Isis is known as the soul of Sirius. You have the god Anubis is known as the dog star, or is known as the opener of the way of Sirius. You also have the god Tahuti, which is your Hermes-like Magistus material comes from, which is the papyrus rolls or the knowledge which would be the revelations of John Divine in the Bible. Tahuti is also by way of Sirius. Well, the whole thing is, let's link this thing. Now, we understand that the god of the Buddhas is Sirius. Krishna being a blue-black god in India, which in India you have the Hari Krishna, Hari Krishna. The word Hari means Sirius. Krishna means Christ, or the blue-black god Christ. All connected. Now, in the Quran, it's one of the best preserved pieces in a religious document, other than the Book of the Dead, or the Book of Coming Forth by Dead. One of the best preserved pieces is preserved in the Quran. Quran, and it goes like this. And it's talking about the actual making of the male and the female. And this is what it says. Number one, it says that each man shall be judged on his own labors, and his labors shall be scrutinized, and that shall be judged required for them. And all things shall return to God. This is the God that moves the weeping and the laughter and ordains life and death. This is the God that created both sexes, male and female, from one single drop of ejaculated semen, and will create all things anew. He who bestows and he enriches, he is the Lord of Sirius. Right in the Quran, and in the back footnote, the dog star. So we have.
Where is that again?
This is in the Quran under the chapter of the star. First, it starts off with the blue black angel Gabriel coming to give the Quran to Muhammad, and then it starts talking about where he comes from and what particular God. Beautiful work right in the Quran, because Muhammad's father used to worship Sirius because he was connected with the Cushite Arabs, which was nothing but the ancient Egyptian mystery system in Arabia, when Arabia was all black. Muhammad got rid of all the other astronomical counterparts, but he kept the chief star and put it in the Quran for those savage Arabs who could not understand the science. They just had one star in sight, and that particular star is Sirius. He did do that, and he forbid them from worshiping or even studying the other stuff, because he understood that he didn't want to get them off of track, because man had gone savage then. So now it's in there under the star, which the star means the heaven or the astronomical counterpart. There's a part in here about the cow also, because the cow is known as the cow or the celestial cow of heaven. And in that zodiac of Dendera that I talk about, they got a picture of a star, of a cow with a star between the horns, and that means Sirius. So I wanted to put that out. To show you exactly what's going on with that. Number one, this is a picture of the. Did I give you this? Did I pass this out? Number one, you have the Hebrew Kabbalah, the Hebrew square back. We know that this Kabbalah, this holy Kabbalah, came from Egypt, which the Kabbalistic writings is the writings that they put the Bible together, because you can take the Bible step by step and find different parts of the spiritual centers of your body. The chakras, the pineal gland, the kundalini, and the whole 9 yards. So your Bible is nothing but a blueprint document of something of an esoteric knowledge of the rising to Godhood. Check. Now, this is the Kabbalah. Also, we find the origins of that Hebrew Kabbalah on the temple of Como Ongo in Egypt or Kemet. Right here, we got the documented history and the evidence that the Kabbalah came out of Kemet. Even though most people understood that you have Ra Nufa, Amen Ra, that gives you the actual deities of the Kabbalah, and the most white secret societies deal with the Egyptian Kabbalah. Now, what is this Kabbalah? Let me explain some things here. What's going on? The Kabbalah, you have, because we need to break this, we need to bring it into religion so you can get. The reason why they're not telling you about this whole UFO thing is because it's related to us. You have a breakdown of the universe and also a breakdown of the body. All this also represents the spiritual centers of the body, because we're nothing but the microcosm of the macrocosm. If I got a big bucket of water that represents God, and I take a cup and dip it in that big bucket of water, is not the contents in the cup the same as the contents in the bucket of water? It's the same. So that's all you are, the microcosm of the macrocosm. So when Muhammad said that the black man was God, we laughed at that. We're not talking about the creator, but we're talking about God, generator, operator, and destroyer. Esoteric terms. Now, you have a breakdown of the body, then you have a breakdown of the universe. Right here, you have number 10 is the earth, which is called the daughter, the material world, because this is the material world. Next, you would have Venus, Mercury, you would have the moon right here, you would have the sun right here, you have Jupiter, you have Mars, you would have Saturn, and you would have Saturn as a gateway to another dimension, then you would have the zodiac, which is explaining some part of the universe, and then you would have Keter. Keter means crown, and it is the sun behind the sun. Our sun is probably 20 times greater than the earth, or more, which falls insignificant to its father, the sun behind the sun, which is about 20 or 30 times greater than the sun. The sun reflects the light of this particular sun. The sun is Sirius, Kemetian, which means the first light reflected in space from the great mother space, the celestial womb, the triple darkness of space that reflects light. That first light, greater or first in heaven than the other stars, is Sirius, our sun's father. And it is the father it is the true father of this particular universe, even though there might be parallel universes, or there are parallel universes. The true father of this particular universe is called the central sun, which is the sun of all the other solar systems, is Sirius. Real key. Because Muhammad said there's other life forms in the universe, but the black man being the most superior. We got the documented evidence, because every god that you know that came down here in the ancient time was black. And they came from this particular region. Now you have this top triad. Not these three spheres is known as the archetypal world. Right in here you see a crossbar that says the star. So they're talking about all of these as a representation of Sirius. And it says the star and all. And it has Bino, which is the mother, which means creative world, which means understanding. You have Shakma, which is the father, archetype, which means wisdom, and you have crown, which means light. What they don't show on this particular one is there's another realm or another ring that's over that is called Ansor. It means the blackness, or it means nothing. Nothing, you have the absolute from nothing. From the nothing, you get the absolute. This is the Tahuti science. The triple blackness of space. Because, now, this is the key behind this. Keva is reflected into Malka, the microcosm, the macrocosm. This is where you come into being. As above, so below is the Tahuti's principles, or the principles, or ancient Kamite principles of the universe. As above, so below, as within, so without, as I'm under, so on top. That's the law of correspondence. You need to get the book, the Holy Kabbalion, to give you these laws. You can get it on the black.